And so for me, you're asking, well, how do you know what to exit? What's the plan? When I sat down with my business coach and said, I want out, he said, the reason you want out is the same reason nobody wants in because everything relies on you. Well, I was like, well, that's not going to work. How do I get myself extricated from the daily operations of this business so that it can't actually be worth something? And in the process of getting myself out of the weeds of daily operations, it occurred to me, oh, now I have an asset paying me money whether I show up or not.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Richard Geek. Today we've got a very cool guy. He is the real, not the fake, the real Jason Duncan. He's a entrepreneur, best-selling author, TEDx speaker. We'll get into that if you guys don't know what that is. Podcast host. I was on his podcast, so we're going to swap and you guys can listen to me talk and listen to him talk, and you get the double trouble there. But the real Jason Duncan, what he is, he's dedicated to helping business owners and people that maybe want to go into entrepreneurship find both success and balance. We know if you're an entrepreneur, man, that is so big because we just work, 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 and a lot of us don't have that balance. Jason firmly believes entrepreneurs can build thriving companies without sacrificing their lives. I need to hear some of that, and he's made it his mission to prove it. And how you doing, Jason? It's a pleasure to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be here. I love getting on shows. I've been on a bunch recently, and they're always great conversations.
Absolutely. So, we'd like to start it up. Who is the real Jason Duncan? A little bit of background and why do you want to help people educate? Tell us about it.
Okay. Well, so from strictly from a professional perspective, I am a business coach and an entrepreneur. I run a mastermind called the Exeter Club, and we are entrepreneurs and business owners from all across the United States who are trying to get out of the weeds of daily operations and increase the value of our company. And that's what we're trying to do to make a more profitable exit when we get ready to exit. So that's what I do from a professional standpoint. Now, in a more personal side, I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We met on a blind date when we were teenagers, and we're going to be celebrating 30 years this year. It's hard to believe. I just turned
Wow.
50 last week, and yeah, so we got married pretty
Youngins.
young. Yeah, so yeah, life is great. I love to ride motorcycles. I like to play guitar. Probably I play acoustics. And behind you, you've got all these really cool electrics. I do have a Gibson Les Paul custom sitting on my floor right over here that I've
I
never
know you
played.
tried selling it to me.
You could buy it. It can be yours, but because it's just sitting there, because I've still not played it. But I love smoking cigars and hanging out with
Yeah.
buddies and riding motorcycles and going camping. And yeah, that's who I am, man.
Yeah. I was going to buy that guitar, but I ended up having a couple of bourbons and going to Barrett Jackson, which is a big
Uh-oh.
car auction, and buying a muscle car. So now I'm in the doghouse. But
Okay. Well, what's the difference in buying another Les Paul, man? Go for it.
well, it's happy wife, happy life. You know that. It's a
She's
part of
already
your future.
mad. You
She
might as well
is.
get what you want.
Might as well just turn it up a notch. Here we go, honey. We're just kidding. If you're listening to this, when it comes out. But
Well,
Jason, so tell us. It's where did you start in your entrepreneurship and some of the lessons that you teach, but what are some of the mistakes early on? It's like, okay, you know what, entrepreneur, this is why you're working 100 hours a week, and this is why you switch working from someone else. Just now you just switch the role, and you're still working just as hard and not as smart.
so I spent the first 13 years of my professional career, I was in ministry, pastoral ministry. I've got a degree in biblical studies and ministry, and I thought I would spend the rest of my life doing that.
Hmm.
And then in 2005, 2006, I made a decision. It's like, I don't think this is for me. This is not where I need to be. Where can I go to actually make a difference in the world? And I decided that going into teaching school would be the thing. So I went back to school, got a master's in education, started teaching school, and again thought, hey, this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. This is something I truly enjoy. I'm very good at it. The kids like it. The
Mm,
administration was a big fan of mine. I mean, I was doing really well as a teacher. And then in 2010, my principal came to me and sat me down and said, "Hey, unfortunately, I got to cut some teaching positions in the school district, in this building for next year, and you don't have tenure. You're the last guy hired, and that's how we have to make that decision." And that was devastating because I honestly thought teaching and education was going to be the thing I do for the rest of my life. So I had to make a decision of what to do next. And ultimately, it's a very long story, but I will skip all the sort of details. Ultimately, I made a decision to start a company, and that company ultimately ended up becoming a very successful multi-million-dollar company, twice recognized in Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing privately held companies in the country,
mm,
listed in Entrepreneur 360 in their magazine as one of the best entrepreneurial companies in the country. I mean, things were great, but the mistake I made is I didn't plan for my exit. And it didn't even occur to me because when I started the company, I honestly was only concerned with making $3,000 a month because that's what I made as a school teacher. That's what I brought home. I just needed to make $3,000 a month. And I didn't even think about what it would be to exit at
yeah.
some point in the future. And if you build a building, you and I, you're in real estate. Like, let's
Mm,
say you and I come together and we say, we're going to buy a plot of land. We're going to build a building on this land. And we build this beautiful building. It's wonderful, wonderful building, but it only has one door in and there's no
mm,
exit.
mm,
What would we call that building? As pretty as it might be, it's still a jail. It's a
mm,
prison.
mm,
And most business owners do the same thing. I did it. Many millions of others have done the same thing. We build a business with one way in and no way out. And once we start thinking about getting out, the business is not set up to let us out. That's what happened to me. I had a multi-million-dollar business with a seven-figure bottom line, and it was worth nothing.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, all these questions pop in your mind. It's what is that mistake and how, some people and some coaches might say it's like, look, before you even open the door, what is your exit? And then you work backwards. What do you want? If you want to sell for five times gross, what is the industry? Because I know hotels, maybe four and a half, five times gross, and you have this build up. And because I have investors, it's like, hey, this is a 5 to 7 year exit. It's kind of easier for me because I kind of have to have it. And then I just look at gross revenues and say, okay, I need to build it up and do this in order to achieve, you know, five times gross or four times gross. What are some of the things that you can tell people? It's like, look, what is an exit? Okay, it's selling, but what is that plan? Is it I need to increase gross or I need to do this? What is the exit strategy?
So I kind of came up with the what I call it. There's lots of names for it, but what I call it is exit without exiting. I actually wrote a best-selling book called Exit Without Exiting. So if you're watching this on
Mhm.
YouTube, I'm holding up the book now. You can see a picture of that. And if
Yep.
you'll remind me, Michael, at the end, I'll be happy to give your listeners a free copy of that physical book. Just
Mhm.
remind me at the end, and I'll make sure that we can set that up with the link.
Okay.
But when I met with my business coach and we were talking about options and I talked about exiting and
Mhm.
what most people think about when they hear the word exit, they think about selling.
Right.
And that was what I thought because I didn't really know. And I said, well, I think I'm ready to get out of this thing. I don't really like the lighting business. That's what I'd started. I don't
Mhm.
really understand. I don't really enjoy that industry, even though I very much understand it now. And he said, well, the problem is the reason you want out is the same reason nobody will want in. He said, because it's you. You're the linchpin of everything in the business. And that was the mistake. And if you
Mm.
think about it this way, if you think about a pyramid, there are three tiers in this pyramid, and that's what entrepreneurs go through this evolution. Tier one is the owner operator, and that's where most people
Yep.
stay.
Yep.
Tier two is a slice in the middle called the owner manager. And I had graduated into tier two. I had a really good team. I think we had 20
Mm.
something employees. We were operating in projects all over the country. Things were going really well, but it still relied on me. I still signed the checks, so to speak, even though
Yeah.
technically I didn't have to sign checks, but you get the point. I had to
Yeah.
do I had to manage and make sure that things were done correctly.
Hmm.
And then the final tier in the entrepreneurship is the very tip top, and only probably 1 to 2% of entrepreneurs ever reach that, and that is owner investor. Owner investor. And most owner operators never even know that there's an owner manager tier, and owner managers don't even know that there's an owner investor tier. And so for me, you're asking, well, how do you know what to exit? What's the plan? When I sat down with my business coach and said, I want out, he said, the reason you want out is the same reason nobody wants in because everything relies on you. Well, I was like, well, that's not going to work. How do I get myself extricated from the daily operations of this business so that it can't actually be worth something? And in the process of getting myself out of the weeds of daily operations, it occurred to me, oh, now I have an asset paying me money whether I show up or not. That sounds like real estate, doesn't it?
It does.
So I said, well, why don't I just hold on to it? I don't need to sell it. And that's what I did. So I moved my office out of the office building. I didn't have a desk in there anymore. I gave up my desk to somebody else. And
Okay.
I came in the office once a week just to check on things. And then eventually once a month. And then eventually I was just calling, there were people calling me like, "Hey, here's what's going on." That was it. And so as I ran into colleagues and people that knew me, they said, "Hey, did you exit?" I'm like, "No, well, yeah. Oh, you sold your business?" "No, I didn't sell it." And that's how exit without exiting, kind of the phrase was born because people saw that I'd exited, but I really didn't exit. So it's exit without exiting. And so if you can build your business where it runs without you and it's throwing cash flow, why would you sell it? Now, people have reasons for it, but why would you? If you're making, let's say you're making 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 grand a month and you don't have to show up, I mean, is there really a reason to sell it?
Yeah. That's, yeah. I mean, just start something else, do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a lot like real estate. You just, why have just one hotel? Why have just one storage unit or just one business? So would that be like just opening up the same things? How important is it to stick with the niche? These entrepreneurs say, oh, I can do plumbing and electric, and they get into all these different things. And is you agree with that, or you say, yeah, you know what, if you're good at this, just open that same thing in the different cities.
So here's my thoughts on that. There are a lot of people out there that are pumping the idea across the social media platforms of this idea that the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. They have these 7 ways they're making money. And while true, what they're not telling you is that they didn't start with 7. They nailed one and they got that one locked and loaded. And then they went and got another one, got it locked and got another one. And so what I did the wrong. As soon as I exited and I didn't have daily operations, I started 5 other companies the same year. Terrible idea. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Lost a lot of confidence in myself
Mhm.
because I did it. I went too fast. I should have tempered my ambitions a little bit. I should have said, you know what? Let's just make sure that this exit without exiting lasts for a year or two before I go and spend all of my money on these other investments, whether it be real estate or online or e-commerce, whatever it happens to be. I need to do it. And so the mistake I made was trying to diversify way too fast. But the answer is, should we stay in the niche or should we go wide? I think you should generally stay in things that you're good at until everything's locked and loaded, and then you can experiment and go for what you're passionate about. I love motorcycles, I love
Mhm.
cars, I love camping, I love the cigars, like coffee. Those are all I would hesitate to refer to them all as passions, but I am passionate about aspects of those things. At some point, I'll be ready to buy one of those businesses in that industry. But I made a mistake of attempting to buy them way too early. I did a run at 2 different motorcycle dealerships. One of them I just walked away from because the owner wanted too much money for the revenue he was doing. The second one, I went all the way down the line of the SBA lending, got it all ready, and then there was a hiccup at the end, and you know, I just something happened and I had to kind of say, nope, this deal ain't going to work. And then I went all the way down the line trying to buy a truck and RV dealership. I looked at a couple of coffee shops, but all of that time, it just kept me not focused. I wasn't focused. And I believe that focus stands for follow one course until successful. That's what focus
Mm,
stands for. Follow one course until
mm,
successful. And that's what I needed to start doing. And I've done that. And now my mastermind has tripled. Things are going really well. I mean, we're doing fantastic. And it all took
mhm.
focus.
And a lot of people don't have that because they're too busy making cupcakes or whatever it is inside of their business. There is no focus. How do you get to that final piece of the triangle of being the investor? Because people are like going, man, I'm trying to separate myself from it a little bit, but I keep getting drawn back in, because it could be a trust thing that they're not hiring the right people. What are you teaching people that are just they want to do it, but they're not making that jump?
Well, a lot of it has to do with your mindset. If not everything is in your mindset. It's what you think about, you bring about. So if you think that you are required to be in the business every day, then you're probably going to create a business that requires you to be in the business every day. But if you have an awareness that there's another tier above you,
Yeah.
tier two owner manager or tier three owner investor, then you have something to aspire towards. And let me give you an example of a tier three entrepreneur, an owner investor,
Mhm.
Elon Musk, right?
Mhm.
Probably the one of the most successful modern day entrepreneurs on the planet, in spite of the fact that he's being vilified today because of political
Yeah.
affiliations.
I know.
Forget that crap. Like
Yeah.
he is one of the number one entrepreneurs on the planet. Well, if he had stayed as a tier one entrepreneur, as an owner operator, or even a tier two, we would not know his name. And we certainly wouldn't know the companies that he owns, Tesla,
Mhm.
X, SpaceX. We wouldn't know them because he would be in obscurity
Yeah.
with every other owner operator out there. I mean, who's an owner operator that you know nationally or internationally? There isn't. They don't exist. So there are no billionaire owner operators. They
Yeah.
they have to graduate. So for the owner operators listening to this show or watching the show right now, just know that there is an option. And it requires you to understand you can't be the hero of your own story in the entrepreneurship world. You are at the first. You are the number one guy, number one girl. You do everything better than everybody else. You know it better than everybody else. You're more well connected. You know, but you can't know forever. Right now,
Mhm.
Elon Musk is not coding. He is not putting tires on Teslas. He's not doing that. Jeff Bezos is not packing boxes for you to ship your crap to your house from Amazon. They don't do that stuff. They used to, but
Mhm.
they don't anymore.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, even in my own life, it was a coach just like the real Jason Duncan, and they told me it's like, do you like paying bills? Do you like doing the accounting? Do you like going to the hotels every day? And I'm like, no, I hate it. And then why are you doing it? You know, at some point, find out what your unique ability is, and it's not paying the bills, and then hire the people. And I think, is that also a thing? Is it was for me? It's like, oh, I don't want to spend the money to hire the right people in order for me to get to that top tier. How much you know, they're scared to spend it.
Yeah. Well, think about this: money and time. Which one do you want more of?
Mm.
You want
Yeah,
time. Well, everybody
time.
wants time. Well, you can't get time back once it's spent. It's over. It's done. You can't lend it to people. You can't recoup it. It is what it is. But money, you can make that back. So I was talking to a client
Mhm.
earlier today, and one of the cool things about the Exeter Club is we have a preferred partner program where we bring in some amazing service providers who do white glove treatment at discounts to our and for our members. And we just brought on a preferred partner in the recruiting space. And then the recruiting space, that can sometimes be expensive in terms of, what it
Yeah,
costs, 35% of the fee or of the salary,
yeah.
the first year salary you have to pay the recruiting firm. Well, think about this. And I was talking to my client about it because he's looking to hire a general manager or sales manager. And I said, well, how much are you going to pay? And he told me the amount that he was going to pay. And I said, well, look, with our partnership with this other company in the Exeter Club, it's going to cost you, and I think it was around 10 grand. Let's just say it was 10 grand. It's going to
Yeah.
cost you 10 grand to hire them to do the process for you. Now, how much time would it take you to do it? And
Mm-hmm.
we speculated about how many weeks and how many months it might take him to do it, and the time it would take to go through the interviews, the time it would take to do it. I said, or they could do it, hand you three candidates on a silver platter. They've already been totally vetted, and all you got to do is pick the one you like the most. Now, is that worth 10 grand? I think it is. I think it's worth
Yeah.
10 grand all day long. Now,
Yeah.
everybody's financial situation is different. When I started my company, just like anybody else, I didn't have the money to do it. I had
Mm-hmm.
to trade time for money. But at some point, that's got to flip. And you got to say, you know what? I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to spend 50 grand or 100 grand or 10 grand, whatever it is, to get me to a place where I have more time. That
Mm-hmm.
is more important because time is a non-renewable resource.
Yeah.
Money is a renewable resource. You can do stupid things with money and get more. You do stupid
Okay.
things with time and you will regret it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good advice. So let's talk a little bit about the Exeter Club. Uh, Big letters, everybody's therealjasonduncan.com is the website. Give me 90 days and I'll help you build a new company operating system, turning your business into a self-growing machine that scales 8 to 9 figures profitably without you burning out. That's the number one thing is the burnout. So many people sit there just like, man, I just can't take it anymore. Um, let's talk about the Exeter Club. Who is it for? And how do they apply to join? Let's talk a little bit about who's in it, what type of companies are in it, who's it for?
All right. So it's for entrepreneurs, business owners in the United States that are doing at least $3 million a year in annual revenue.
Hmm.
Or if they don't have that type of revenue, they got to have at least 300K in net profit because we do have some pretty high margin businesses that they're not doing 3 million, but they have a pretty high margin and or net margin, and they
Hmm.
do. And the reason we require that as a financial requirement to get into the club is that there are certain investments, as we've already discussed in this show, there's certain investments that have to be done in order for you to get where you want to go. If you don't yet have the money to make those investments, the Exeter Club is not for you. We're here for you when you're ready, but you need to go get a startup coach. And that's not who we are. We're not helping you start up. If you got a startup question, there are great startup coaches out there. And if I could have probably helped you do that too, but I've made the decision this is who I'm going to work with. So that's who we work with. Now, what's kind of the problems that exiters are dealing with? We call them exiters. What are the
Yeah.
problems that potential exiters are dealing with? Well, they're on the verge of burnout. They recognize that they're working way too many hours and they're missing time with their kids, their wife, they're missing time with their church or their community, or their health is declining, or they just simply haven't hit that stride that they want. The business still requires way too much of them, and they know they could be doing more. Those are all the things that the Extra Club is designed to alleviate. And I see it happen every single day. You can go to my testimonials page on my website and just watch video after video after video. People said, I finally have time to do this. I've started a new division of my company. I sold my company or I bought another company. These are things you couldn't have had time to do earlier.
Yeah.
So we're just taking people in our operating system, which is called XOS, Exeter Operating System. We're taking people from tier one owner operators to owner manager and ultimately to owner investor.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, it's so I could not have grown if it wasn't for a system like this. I'd been stuck, 10 years ago. And it's so important. And people that are listening, you can go to YouTube, you can go to get the books, you can do all that sort of stuff. But I always say it's find the person who's made the mistakes, find the person who's willing to give back, and you're the type of person that's who do you want to learn from? I don't want to learn from some kid that's on YouTube that says make millions and do this, and follow me. I'm like going, dude, I'm not even going to get started with some of those guys that ping me every day. Um, so once you're in the Exeter Club, now when you say mastermind, I'm thinking a group of people all together coming together and talking about things. Now, is this more one-on-one coaching or is it a group session? What is the
Yeah.
mastermind?
It is a group. So Napoleon Hill is credited with making mastermind a common phrase in our American language, American colloquialism, because he studied some of the greatest and most successful entrepreneurs of the time back in
Mhm.
the 20s and 30s. And he found that one of the unique things that every one of them had was a mastermind of people that all worked together for the same goal. And Andrew Carnegie taught him, he said, it's when two or three people come together of the same and they're trying to go in the same direction, a third invisible mind shows up. This like this weird thing that happens, and we call it today synergy. We call it
Mhm.
today synergy, but masterminding helps you get there. Unfortunately, these TikTok gurus and YouTube gurus are all telling people, "Hey, come to my mastermind," and it's a
Right.
one weekend for 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever it is, and it's one weekend. Okay, is that a mastermind? No, it's a conference of some sort, maybe a workshop, seminar, weekend
Yeah.
retreat. But a mastermind is a group of people all working towards the same outcome and helping each other get there. That's what we do in the Exeter Club. So twice a month we meet on Zoom.
Mhm.
One of those meetings is we have including me, 6 coaches in the program. We
Mhm.
have a finance coach who's a CPA and a CFO. We
Mhm.
have an investment banking coach who's a registered investment banker. We have a
Mhm.
legal coach who's a M&A attorney. We have a wealth management coach, and we also have a mindset coach plus me. And so every month at one of our meetings, one of the 6 of us does a really deep dive training into one of those areas. And then in our other meeting, what we do is we do hot seat sessions, and these are really cool. These are 30
Mhm.
minute dedicated time where each member gets an opportunity to just divulge, here's what I need help with, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, what do you guys think? And then everybody just lays in, says, here's what I think, here's what I think you ought to do, what about this, what, and you get the experience of 30 people rather than one person as a coach. Now I also have one-on-one coaching because you asked about that. I do
Mhm.
one-on-one coaching for a very select number of people, but I don't take on one-on-one clients who are not members of the mastermind. So you got to be a member of the
Sure.
mastermind. Now you could hire me at the same time to do one-on-one, but everybody gets access to the mastermind because all of the resources are in the Exeter Club. All of the preferred partnerships, all of the
Mhm.
coaches, every member who gets in the mastermind gets a valuation of their company. Our investment
Mhm.
banking team does that for them. So you come in within the first 90 days, you're going to find out exactly how much your company's worth. And we guarantee that your company will be worth 30% more at the end of the
Mhm.
year, or we'll give your money back. It's that big of a deal.
Wow. Listen to that, people. I mean, the real jasonduncan.com. Now, these people that are thinking, listening, and they're entrepreneurs, it's like, well, I own an e-commerce business, is that, but I make a lot of money, or, is it more of the brick and mortar? The real estate guys, it's like, well, I just buy more hotel. It's when they're sitting there, it's like, I don't know, am I a fit for this Exeter? Is it more of a brick and mortar? Is it something that, okay, I have a business, I have employees, I'm going there, I'm spending too much time, or could it be that you've got a big e-commerce? What is the niche?
So we have in the Exeter Club, we have attorneys, we have
Hmm.
doctors, we have general contractors, we have we've got people that are in e-commerce who have
Mhm.
no physical location whatsoever.
Yeah.
We got people in the home service business. We got people who are in the manufacturing business. It
Hmm.
literally is across the board. I haven't seen a single industry type that we can't help. It, it
Hmm.
because it's a matter of building a business that's sustainable and scalable without you, that will make you for a much more profitable exit when you get ready to leave.
Yeah, and and that is important because it's people will always make excuses of why it's not right for them, right?
Yeah.
And now everyone knows it's like there's no excuse. If you have that um G, the gross, why do it? Why not do it? There's really no excuse anymore. I hate it when people say, well, I failed because I didn't do this. And I said, did you seek out help? Well, no, I tried to do it all myself and, went down with the ship, basically. Um, a couple of the last things, what are some of the experiences, some things that you could tell us? It's like, wow, this person was doing this and we were able to turn it around. Not just that they were spending too much time in the business, but some of the eye-opening things of that you've really helped a couple people do that really stood out to you.
So a couple of stories stand out. One is a guy who joined the mastermind, I think nearly maybe 3.5 years ago. And he was doing about 15 million in annual revenue, primarily in a in the construction industry, doing actual work, like as a contractor.
Yeah.
Well, today, through the course of going through this, within the first 6 months of being a part of the club, he was able to save 60 grand on his marketing spend through one conversation he had with another member. I had nothing to do that directly, but just in the conversation with another member as part of a mastermind, he was like, "Oh," and saved 60 grand, which more than paid for his dues, almost covered 3 years worth of dues right there.
Yeah.
Then he was able to, through the Exeter Club and the teaching, pull back from the daily operations of the business, put another CEO in place,
Mhm.
went and started another company, and then bought two other companies. Now collectively, he's doing about 50 million in revenue, and he's spending less time in the office than he ever did before. Much happier, very, much. He's got home with his daughters way more than he used to.
Yeah.
Another story comes to mind is we had a guy who was in e-commerce, had one employee. His employee was I think a copywriter, if I do remember. It's like her job was to do copy for the website, the blog, et cetera, the things he was working on. And when he got into the Exeter Club, he learned really quickly that he needed somebody to be the point person for the company. It couldn't be him, or the company would never grow past him. And
Yeah.
so he used the system that we teach for hiring people, because at the time we didn't have that preferred partner with the recruiting agency. So
Mhm.
we have a very solid 10 step system for finding, hiring, onboarding, and training new employees. And he ran the system to the T, and he had 700 people apply for the general manager position, which I
Mm.
which is not typical. First,
Wow.
first of all, you don't want 700 applicants. I can tell
Yeah.
you. When he
Wow.
sent me the screenshot of just the scrolling on his Excel of all these people that had applied, I was like, what am I looking at? He ultimately ended up hiring a general manager, and he said, "My life is better than it's ever been." Now, look, he had to make an investment.
Mhm.
That money used to go to his pocket, and now he's paying somebody else. But that's dip in his income will provide later just dividends for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason, it's been a pleasure having you on. How can people find you outside of the realjasonduncan.com?
All right. There's two things I want to tell people. First of all, you can go to just Google the real Jason Duncan. You'll find me on all the social media platforms. Instagram is where I spend most of the time. So you can that YouTube.
Yep.
But the realjasonduncan.com is my website. But I want to send people to two specific places on that website, if I may. The
Yeah.
first is a callback to what we talked about with that book. If you want a free copy of the book, all you got to do is pay shipping to get the book to you. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/free book, and you can get that free. I'll ship it. My assistant Renee will ship that right to you. If you are interested in applying for the
Mm-hmm.
Exeter Club, then
Yeah.
go to therealjasonduncan.com/breakthrough. Therealjasonduncan.com/breakthrough. When you go to breakthrough, it's a simple page. All it says is apply for your breakthrough session. You apply, that gives you a 1 hour call with me, where I will help analyze your business, tell you where you're at as an owner operator, owner manager, or owner investor, give you some pointers about where you're going to need to go, and then we'll talk about whether or not the Exeter Club is right fit for you.
And they can also sign up because I get I signed up somewhere. I did something and I get uh, daily or weekly emails
Yeah.
with a lot of great information in it. And I read every single one of those. And how do people get involved in just being able to get that on
Yeah,
your
well,
mailing
if you
list?
just want to sign up for the newsletter, you go to my website and scroll all the way to the bottom. There's in the footer, it just says newsletter. Just
Yeah.
click on that and you can subscribe. That won't you won't be called. Nobody's going to reach out to you other than you'll just start getting the emails. And I send a newsletter that every single Wednesday that's really just value-based information. And then
It
every
is.
other day of the week, we're sending snippets of, hey, here's what the Exeter Club is doing this week. Here's a new
Yep.
podcast that just dropped. Here's a video that I just did on YouTube. So I'm really glad to hear, Michael, that you say that you find value in those, because we
I
we
do.
do have a very good open rate and we have a very
Hmm.
low unsubscribe rate. So we
Hmm.
feel like we're doing something good for entrepreneurs out there.
They are. And I love getting the tidbits because remember, people, Never stop learning. Yeah, I don't care how much money you make. There's always someone that can help you out and allow you to be more successful. Jason, it's been a pleasure having you on the Richard Geek podcast. I hope you stay blessed, and everybody out there listening, be blessed. And if you'd like this, give us reviews. Sign up at therealjasonduncan.com. Get the book. He's going to post a link. I appreciate Jason, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Michael.